Hi, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where everybody is dialing in from. My name is Jessica Corvo, and we are so excited to be celebrating International Women's Day. And today is a masterclass, and we're going to be going over a whole bunch of different ways to redefine self and to tap into our innate powers and to kind of evaluate all the social conditioning and really kind of understand who we are. So the intention is it's a collaboration between me, a resilience expert, and then my friend Sway, who is a certified therapist. And together, having all of these different tools, everything from CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, to the EFT, which is the tapping, to my contributions are going to be discussing nutrition and movement. And we got a whole bunch of, sneaky ninja things in between. So Sway actually had a little bit of technical difficulties with the internet on her side. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because, the show must go on. So with that said, happy International Women's Day. We are so tickled to have all of you guys present and to just kind of share the space. So we'd like to start by reminding you on how powerful you are, on how magical you are, and on how grateful we are that you exist. And I think Gary Vee was one of the people that said it's the fact that you are in this exact moment is like a 1 in 1 trillion chance of doing it, of being manifested as the person that you are. So if that's not magical, I don't know what is. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and dive into the nutrition aspect. Now, I can talk about nutrition until the cows come home. This is like my favorite thing in the entire world. And after living in 4 different countries, it's very easy for me to be able to discern the difference between what type of foods are really good for us and what type of foods are told that they're good for us, but they're not actually that good for us. We have a lot of conditioning in the US, and we have a lot of misbehaving advertising agencies in the US. And quite honestly, our government doesn't always want us to be healthy because you can't make money off of healthy people. So my intention is to kind of shed light on some of the things to get you guys to question and just understand the quality of what you're consuming. I think to start, we really want to make sure that we're looking at food as nutrition. So a lot of people, they'll say, what is your diet? Diet is restrictive. Whereas if we make that gentle shift to talk about nutrition, then it's a conscious effort of how are we nourishing our body? How are we fueling our body? How are we taking care of our body? Because nutrition, nourish, it's a small word that makes a very big difference for us. And so I would like for you guys to start putting that in your regular vocabulary. How am I nourishing every time you eat something? How am I nourishing my body? Every time somebody asks, what are you eating today? I'm nourishing my body with X, Y, and Z. So I think when you kind of simple, when you make those kind of discernments, it's going to make a really big impact. So that's kind of like step number 1, the language that we use. Step number 2, a lot of times people will go to the grocery store and they will buy what they think is organic. So you can go to the store, you can, spend your money on organic, but what exactly are you buying? To me, the organic label is just another marketing stunt in order to justify charging higher prices. The reason why I say this is because fruits have seeds. And when you go to the grocery store, there's a lot of examples where fruits no longer have seeds, and yet they're still organic. So how does that make sense? Fruits are Mother Nature, and the entire world is very self-sufficient. So fruits, when you eat the fruit and you have the seed is supposed to create another fruit, right? So I've been back in the US for 2.5 years, well, since July 2017. And I have yet to eat an orange that has a seed. I think that's criminal. And so oranges are my favorite. And I've tried everything from, like the blood oranges, the navel oranges, to the little cuties, the like the mandarin oranges. And, we just had Chinese New Year, so I had a lot of oranges. And the oranges didn't have any seeds in them. So I think, when you guys are going grocery shopping, start evaluating that. Even if you're in the organic side, if you have the money to spend on organic, that's cool. What is the integrity of the organic? Do your fruits have seeds in it? For me, you can also look at bananas. Bananas have been engineered so much that they no longer have seeds. If you have a jungle banana, it's supposed to have these big black seeds, and they're actually really tiny. Now we can go to the grocery store and we get these like big bananas, and they don't have any seeds in the middle. They don't have what we think is supposed to be healthy, and they look good. I mean, they're ginormous. Usually they're about 8 to 9 inches long, and they're bright yellow, but when you taste them, they don't really taste like a banana. And sometimes the stem is actually green, whereas the banana itself is yellow. So I think, when we look at the oranges, it's whether or not they have seeds. When we look at the bananas, think about, what does a banana tree look like? When you take the bananas off the tree, the stem is the first thing that's going to die, right? Because that's where you're removing the life force from. So compared to flowers, when you get cut flowers, usually you got to continue to cut the bottom, right? Why do you cut the bottom? Because it's dying. So it's the same thing from the flowers to the banana. When you rip the bananas, the stem is connected to the tree. When you rip that off, that should be the first place that's decaying. But a lot of times it's still green. Green means that it's still like immature. It needs to be ripened. So in my world, if you go to the grocery store and again you get organic, or organic bananas, the banana is yellow but the stem is green, that means it's been chemically ripened. So think about it. Take a step back and just think about it. All the bananas that you've bought, one, do they taste like bananas? Number two, do all the bananas look the same? Number three, what color is the stem? So a normal banana, a healthy banana, is going to be a brown stem and a yellow banana. That's what happens. It goes from green to yellow to brown. That's the decaying process for the bananas. So if you go ahead and get the banana and the stem is green and the banana itself is yellow, that's an indication that it's been chemically ripened. And so if it's been chemically ripened, that means somebody, a scientist or someone, put chemicals inside that banana, and now those chemicals are going to be ingested and inside your system. So something to think about, something to think about. And if you don't know what a banana tastes like, try to go to an ethnic store and try to get, I think they call them like fingers. So you can try to get like the little fingers. Usually they're a little bit sweet. You can get, sometimes they call them like jungle bananas. And yeah, it's just like tropical like island fruit. And plantains are different. So be careful that you're not buying plantains, because that'll, distort what you think is supposed to be banana. It's a different like product. But definitely kind of understand the difference between like the tartness of, a banana versus like the sweetness of some of the fingers, or like the mini bananas that have not been modified. And usually they'll look a little bit funny too, because it'll be a little bit brighter of a yellow for the fingers of the smaller bananas. And sometimes they'll have like kind of like almost like bruising or like brown like edges and stuff. That just means that it's ripe. There's nothing wrong with the actual banana. So kind of taking a step back and evaluating from a nutrition perspective. Again, you're nourishing your body. Now that we understand that we're nourishing our body, we're evaluating how are we nourishing our body. So being able to kind of look at, whether or not our fruits and vegetables, well, our fruits, if they have seeds, and then from the oranges all the way to the bananas, that's on how we can tell if it's been chemically ripened. Another thing that I like, and in my window, I actually have two pieces of fruit. I just moved house, and so I'm trying to find a grocery store that I like and that has good quality produce. And so I bought two types of fruit. I got a cantaloupe. I'm sorry. It's not cantaloupe, it's the green one. I always forget what they're called. Um, I got the green cantaloupe, and then I got a pineapple. And I put them in my windowsill, and I'm just going to let it decay. I want to see on how long it's going to decay. I also have strawberries. So I put strawberries on the side. If the strawberries turn in about 2 to 3 days, then I know that those are real strawberries without any chemicals. And I'll continue doing my grocery shopping from that store. With the pineapple and with the melon, um, kind of like let it sit for a while, see on how long it takes before it gets mushy. And if it can sit there for 2 weeks, then it's probably, there's a lot of chemicals inside of it, and I shouldn't be putting it inside my body. You can do the same thing. I mean, these are big pieces of fruit. Just because I couldn't find apples, it's winter time still in Chicago, so apples aren't exactly the easiest to find sometimes. I don't know why pineapples are in abundance, but they were. They had, a couple hundred pineapples in the grocery store that I went to. And yeah, and the melons are a little bit smaller than normal, but they're heavy, which indicates that there's a lot of juice inside of it. And yeah, I'll just give it, a couple more days, and then I'll slice it in half to find out how, good the fruit is on the inside. And what you're going to be looking for is understanding the supply chain, right? So if we look at just any piece of fruit, let's use an apple as an example. When an apple is growing from a tree, as soon as we take it off of the tree, so we pick the apple, it starts decaying. So it's dead. When it's connected to the tree, it's connected to life. Once we pick it, it doesn't have a connection to life anymore. That's day one of it dying or decaying, right? Once we put that apple in the basket, it goes to the processing area. And then after the processing area, then it goes to the trucks. And then from the trucks, then it goes to the grocery store. And then from the grocery store, then it goes to, our home. That entire process could usually take probably 2 weeks. So if you can imagine, a piece of fruit is plucked from a tree 2 weeks later and it's still crispy. That's not normal. That's like a Frankenstein apple. That's not normal. So in addition to that, if we take that apple and we put it on our counter and we just wait to find out, maybe 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, now we have a Frankenstein apple that is still crispy after 4 or 5 weeks. That's not normal. That's not healthy. And that is something to kind of be mindful of. I think depending on where you are, you can have like farmers markets. And so in Asia, we call them the wet markets, which, oh my goodness, I love it. And you have no choice but to buy produce every couple of days because it just doesn't keep. You buy it and you cook it, within 1 or 2 days. And in the US, the buying habits are a little bit different. So a lot of people are encouraged to do their grocery shopping once a week. And so in order to keep stuff fresh, they put a lot of chemicals inside, preservatives inside. But if when you're eating all of that and you put all of those preservatives and everything into your system, it affects your system in big ways. So these are just different things like to kind of be thinking about. Now we're going to shift into bowel movements. We're going to get real close real quick. So if you still don't know, even though evaluating whether or not they're seeds, evaluating on how something might be chemically ripened, or evaluating what type of preservatives are inside a piece of fruit or even a vegetable of some sort. So now that we have those three different things and we're still kind of unsure, check your poop. The normal cycle for being able to go to the bathroom is every time that you ingest something. So you put something in your mouth, you go ahead and you eat it. It goes through all of your different, like the intestines and the stomach and everything else, all the way out to the end. Every time you get new food, it pushes the old food out. So you eat something, it pushes it out. The food that's in your system comes up. Next time you eat something, pushes everything down. Whatever's already inside comes out. That's normal and that's healthy. So if you're somebody that eats 3 times a day, but you only poop once, is that healthy? No. Why? Because every time you ingest something, you should be able to go poop. That's just what happens. So it's making room. So food goes in, food comes out, food goes in, food comes out, food goes in, food comes out. So if you're eating 4 or 5 times, I eat 4 to 5 times a day. So I have regular bowel movements. And if I don't have a regular bowel movement, that is an indicator for me to check what type of food am I eating. Processed food stays in your stomach a little bit longer. It doesn't go through as naturally. So if I end up having a lot of processed food, that will clog me up. And so it means I could eat 4 or 5 times a day, but maybe I'll only poop once or twice. Not the healthiest. So that's another way that you can kind of, I guess, evaluate and see if these things that you're putting into your system, the way that you're nourishing your body, are actually nourishing your body. Is understanding not just the life cycle or the actual products that you're putting in, but then also secondary, understanding what's happening to your body. So I think I would also like to kind of address sugar addiction and caffeine addiction. So a lot of times, in addition to all of this, right? So we can evaluate the food, we can evaluate how, like, what happens to our body. As part of what happens to our body, we have the cycle of being able to digest and release, digest and release. In addition to that, pay attention to your emotions. Pay attention to when you're grabbing something to eat. Why are you grabbing it? Are you legitimately hungry, or are you emotionally eating? Are you grabbing something because it's you're bored? Are you grabbing something because you're eating your emotions? Are you grabbing something? Why are you grabbing something? Is it because it's 8 o'clock in the morning and you think it's time for breakfast, or it's 12 o'clock and it's time for lunch, or it's 6 o'clock and it's time for dinner? So I think having that awareness is going to be very important to you. And then also addressing on how this food is affecting you. So taking a step back, the example would be, for me, chicken. Chicken, in my opinion, has a lot of hormones put into it. So when I consume a lot of chicken, I feel a little bit emotionally unbalanced. It takes me a longer time to um, gain control of my emotions. To be perfectly honest, I become my emotions rather than observing my emotions. So chicken is okay for me in small things, but otherwise I'm a little bit of an emotional wild card. So I think that's something to understand on how things affect you in terms of sugar addiction or in terms of caffeine addiction. I think that, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but you have the sugar cycle. So when you're eating different foods, foods get processed and it gives you energy. So when you're on this like energy roller coasters could be because your eating habits aren't regular. The body isn't breaking down the food as it's supposed to. It means that the body is storing everything, converting everything into fat. And a lot of times, if we see people that are only eating one meal per day, the body it goes in starvation mode. It doesn't know what to do. So what happens? It turns everything into fat because fat is easier for the body to hold on to and then digest as needed. Whereas if you're eating protein, or if you're eating, fiber, if you're eating whatever you're eating, if you're eating on a regular basis, the body will break it down as it's supposed to, and it's not going to convert it into fat. So throwing a lot of stuff at you guys, I know we're going to have a formal course. So if you guys want to, go deep into it, we can break it down, into a lot easier digestible pieces, but hopefully you guys are taking notes as well. So again, recap. We got the evaluation of the quality of food that we're eating. Are there seeds present? If there's supposed to be seeds, are there seeds? How are things chemically ripened? You can check the stem versus like the fruit. You can, what was the last one? How long does it take before something goes rotten? So if you're taking strawberries or apples or something, you buy it, put it on the counter and see how long it takes before it gets mushy. If it's like 2 weeks, you shouldn't be eating that. If it's just a couple days, that's healthy. That's, real pure, no chemicals, no pesticides, no preservatives types. Those are good for you. Then shifting into, once you do that evaluation of the types of the quality of food that you're eating, then go into being able to understand the digestive system. So does this make you poop? One of my favorite things when I'm talking to my friends is, what type of food is that? And they'll just say, it makes you poop. Oversimplification. It makes you poop. And so that has so many different layers and so many different meanings, because it means it's healthy for you. It means that it's not processed. It means that it's, your body is breaking it down as it's supposed to. So then we got the poop, right? And now we're shifting into being able to understand the motivation for why we're eating, and then the emotional responses that we have to it. So for me, it's chicken has a lot of hormones in it, and so it affects my emotional states. Sugar, I think that there's a lot of sugar in just about everything. You'd be very surprised. They even, in the US, they even put sugar in milk. I don't know why, but they do. So if you start reading the labels, it'll actually say milk, and then it'll say sugar. It's terrible. And when you have processed sugar inside your system, it depresses your body's ability to process emotions. And so when you're unable to process like those emotions, then it makes you very unhealthy. So this is like a sugar addiction, because it, on two different sides. One, it suppresses your ability to kind of break down emotions. Two, it also suppresses your appetite. So if we go back to food as nutrition, and you have processed sugar and it suppresses means to stop, right? So if it stops your appetite, then what happens? You're no longer able to nourish your body. So now if your body is being hijacked by not being able to process the emotions or function normally, and you're not eating, so you're not fueling your body or nourishing your body, sugar is not good for you. And sugar is also why we have not just obesity, but we have morbid obesity. I mean, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it big in the US, right? We go for the gold. And a lot of the obesity and the diabetes and the different health ailments that we have, heart issues and everything, that's specifically because of like a lot of the sugar and a lot of the things that we are putting, the processed things that we're putting into our body that doesn't need to be put into the body. And so we also have the capabilities to kind of understand, once we understand the motivations and once we understand the different kind of things that are happening to our body once we consume, then we are also going to be looking at what is that roller coaster, right? When we have those highs, when we have those lows, connecting the caffeine into it. So a lot of times when people have that sugar addiction and they're having that processed sugar, it could be in anything from milk, salad dressings, cereal, anything, right? And when that sugar depresses our system, suppresses like all of our emotions and depresses our system from being able to operate normally, and then we're suppressing our appetite, so we're not getting the nutrition that we have, our energy levels are going to get all over the place. So a lot of times when our energy levels are getting all over the place, people will go and have a cup of coffee, or they'll go and they'll have an energy shot, or they'll have an energy drink, and that there's no nutritional value in any of these things. So coffee is actually a diuretic. So not to be dramatic or anything, but when your energy levels are down because of the sugar that you just put into your body, and then you try to get those energy levels up by having, a cup of coffee, coffee being a diuretic means it's going to make you go to the bathroom. And so now you're going to dehydrate yourself, because now that you're going to the bathroom, it's just, not necessarily something that is going to be healthy or good for you. So all sorts of different problems. And so I think like if we take a step back and we understand kind of how the emotional roller coaster is, and how our motivations are for getting different things and how we're pacing ourselves, then we have like a full circle of kind of what nutrition is and how we're going to be able to set our bodies up for success. So how does this happen? How does this relate to self-mastery? So in context of self-mastery, what happens is we are going to, number one, understand our system in its normal state. Number two, once we understand it's in the normal state, we start adding in the different products. Oh, another thing too, bread. Bread was a huge thing for me. So when you go to the grocery store and you get the sliced bread, there's a lot of sugar in that. Be very careful. If you just get a bakery big loaf of bread and you got to cut it yourself, a little bit of an inconvenience, but it's a little bit better for you. So I think carbs are okay. I think bread is okay. Each person is different. For each person, there's a different nutrition plan. But these are different things to kind of be aware of and start asking questions and to just understand. And so kind of all over the place, I get really excited about nutrition. So forgive me for that. But relating it back, in terms of self-mastery, once we understand all these different things, how can you master yourself if you are putting fruits and vegetables in your body that don't have seeds, if you're putting chemically ripened fruits and vegetables into your body, if you are putting in all of these different things into your body without awareness or without knowledge, and then you're not having a normal poop cycle. You're putting food in, but it's not coming out. And then you are having sugar, and then you're having a whole bunch of caffeine. How exactly is your body going to be able to operate, or how can you understand yourself if you have all these different things kind of swirling around and that are preventing you from being normal and being healthy and being able to participate in life as a normal human being? So these are just like some things to kind of like think about. That said, we're going to shift into some movement. So if you guys want to know more about nutrition, it's one of my favorite things to talk about. Obviously, I just threw a lot of stuff at you guys. Feel free to contact me directly or sign up for our this is the MasterClass. Sign up for our online course afterwards because we're going to do a deep dive. So I could talk about that forever. All right, so now that we're getting into the movement side, I would like for you guys to go ahead and sit in a chair comfortably and just go ahead and as you're sitting up straight, try to straighten your back, roll those shoulders back just a little bit. And we're just going to do a couple breathing exercises. Again, everything is related to self-mastery. So I want you to pay attention to your breath. We're going to go in the nose and out the mouth. As we go in the nose and out the mouth, I really want you guys to focus on the entire journey of the air. It sounds funny, but it's important. Imagine the air going in through your nostrils, all the way through the cavities, all the way through into your lungs, expanding those lungs, reducing those lungs, and then coming back out, and then going up through the cavities, and then back out through the nose or through the mouth. Both ways are okay. Always in the nose. Try to go out the mouth or out the nose. Up to you guys. So we're just going to take some breaths right now, just maybe 4 or 5 breaths, and we'll just, take inventory of what's happening in our body. The reason why we're doing the 5 breaths is because a lot of times people in the US and people around the world are struggling with anxiety. They're struggling with depression. They're struggling with not being present and panic attacks. Lots of people having panic attacks. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I'm starting to have a little bit of a panic attack or a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of emotional upheaval, my breath changes and I get shallow breath. And so when you have shallow breath, you're not getting the oxygen to all the different organs and all the different aspects of your body. And that prevents you from being able to move through something. So I want you guys to just kind of like focus on the depth of your breath. And so you kind of want to be able to see that chest going up and down, up and down, up and down. So just on your own, I want you guys to, close your eyes and then just go ahead and deep breath in your nose. Hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale. Inhale and hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale. Inhale and hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale. And inhale and hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale. Last breath. Inhale. Hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale. When you're ready, gently open up your eyes. You might feel a little dizzy. You might feel a little disheveled. You might feel a little different, and that's okay. If you do, that means it's an indicator that your breathing is a little bit more on the shallow side as a regular thing. For me, my breathing is normally shallow. I'm super excited about International Women's Day. I have a lot going on. I just moved house, and my breathing is an intentional act where I had to go and breathe deep. So for me, when I sit and I take those deep breaths, I get a little dizzy. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that's just what happens. So I think for you guys, just take inventory. How are you feeling? And Wim Hof is one of my favorite breathing people. So he has an app. He does these breathing exercises. He promotes being able to get over or overcome illness through the breath. So he's like one of the biggest people in breath work that I've ever experienced, and he's amazing. So we will go ahead and drop links for some of his exercises. But just to kind of bring awareness to the breath. The body is so magical. It does everything without us thinking about it. Our heartbeat goes without thinking about it. Our lungs operate without thinking about it. Our breath continues without thinking about it. So when we kind of slow down and we just sit with our breath and we make it an intention to increase that awareness, positive things happen. So right now, by getting a little bit dizzy, we understand and we realize that we are kind of doing a little bit of a reset. We're getting oxygen to our brain that maybe we didn't have before. And I guess if you look at it from when you get tired, when you get sleepy, are you really sleepy because you're exhausted, or are you sleepy because you're not getting enough oxygen? Usually, if you open up a window or if you just go outside for some fresh air, then you feel a lot better. So I think, for movement and for breathing and stuff, that's always the first step. Just get back to your breath, always. And this is so easy because you can do it wherever you're at. You could be standing, you could be sitting, you could be in the middle of something, you could be taking a bath, you can be going poop, you could be, grocery shopping, and just take a second and just get back to your breath. Another thing is when we're stressed out, we keep it in very specific parts of our body. We tend to keep it in our shoulders, we tend to keep it in our back, and we tend to keep it in our hips. So if you guys are sitting at home comfortably, whether it's on a couch, a chair, or the floor, it doesn't matter, just sit up straight. Go ahead and keep that back nice and straight, and then roll those shoulders back, stick that chest out. So what we're going to do is we're going to raise those shoulders and we're going to drop it. So what I want you guys to focus on is bringing those shoulders all the way up to your ears as close as possible. So I want you to pay attention to how easy, how hard, how stressful this might feel on your body. And then pay attention to where like the kinks are and where you have like the tension. So we're gonna lift our shoulders all the way up, connect those shoulders to those ears, and we're gonna hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then go ahead and try to get as much space between those ears and those shoulders as possible. Pay attention to if you feel this in your chest, if you feel it in your back, do you feel it in your shoulders, do you feel it in your neck, where do you feel? We're gonna do another one. Go ahead and raise those shoulders. The shoulders are connecting to those ears, so we're gonna bring all the way up. And as we bring it all the way up, we're just gonna hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then go ahead and release. As much space as you can between those ears and those shoulders. We're gonna do one more, and this is just for awareness, by the way. Last one, we're gonna go ahead and bring up those shoulders all the way to those ears. Getting good at this, guys. And hold it. And then release. And then go ahead and release and make sure that those ears and shoulders have a lot of distance in between them. So now that you kind of have a little bit of inventory of being able to see, are you feeling it in your chest? Are you feeling it in your neck? Are you feeling it in your shoulders? Are you feeling it in your back? This is just like a really good gauge to kind of have a little bit of body awareness. So if you're feeling it in your shoulders, I know a lot of people, especially in normal world, I mean, we're still in world 2.0, so people aren't out as much, but when you're having a backpack or when you have a handbag or when you're carrying a baby or when you're, I don't know, carrying anything, a lot of times we tend to shrug our shoulders. So this exercise is really good to kind of, create that awareness so that we can understand if our shoulders are constantly shrugged or if our shoulders are down. So if it feels very, very, very awkward to you to be able to release those shoulders, it probably is an indicator that your shoulders are constantly shrugged. So and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Just adjust. And so get those shoulders all the way down. So now I want you guys, we're going to do some shoulder rolls going backwards. Now, a lot of times, and this is kind of funny, so if I go to the side, if I'm doing backward shoulder rolls, what happens to my posture? It goes straight, right? Whereas if I go forward, what happens to my posture? I arch my back just a little bit and I kind of lean forward a little bit, right? So what we want to do is we want to do those shoulder rolls going back, because as we do those shoulder rolls, it's going to correct our posture. So a lot of times, especially in World 2.0, people are sitting at their computer or they're sitting on their couch or like they're not in a formal chair. So when we do that, our form, our posture kind of adjusts a little bit. So just by doing shoulder rolls, we're going to be able to adjust that posture. So hands in your lap, doesn't really matter. You can put your hands out if you want. And then just go ahead and just do 5 or 6 rolls backwards. And then as you're rolling those shoulders back, it's just correcting that posture. You guys are doing such a good job. I'm so proud of you. Give me one more, and then we're good. Okay, next one is we're going really fast on this because yeah, that's what we do. So we had the breathing exercise, we had the shoulder shrugs, we had the backwards shoulder rolls, and now to check the posture and the back, we're going to do what's called a wall angel. So a wall angel is to kind of also spot check our posture. It's not an easy move. I know there's a lot of people that do manual labor that, kind of are hunched forward. I know a lot of office people that are hunched forward. I know a lot of gamers that are always like in their phone. So they're like hunched forward and stuff. And so this is going to be able to spot check our neck, be able to spot check our shoulders, and then spot check our back. So if you guys have a wall, I would like for you guys to, stand up and go towards your wall, and I'm going to use the wall behind me to kind of demonstrate. So I'm going to adjust my screen and then go over here. So basically what we're going to be doing is as we stand up against the wall, I have a beautiful piece of artwork back here. So as we stand up against the wall, a wall angel is where we're going to be flat up against the wall, and then we put our arms up. Again, if this feels awkward for you, that's okay, because this is teaching you what is a normal positioning for your back, right? So a lot of people, when they lean forward, they can't do this because their posture has been compromised. So when you're standing straight up and your back is nice and flat, the trick is when you're able to have your arms like off to the side and like they can touch. Some people, they don't have that mobility, so their arms are just going to be like this, which is fine to start, but now you have a starting point and your goal is to get everything aligned with that wall. So what you want is to be able to look forward. So as you're looking forward, and your head is nice and even, so you're not looking down because that would support bad posture. You're not looking up because that's going to arch your back. So it's nice and straight. Get those arms up against that wall and just hold it. You can hold it for 15 seconds. It's called a wall angel. So this is going to help you, you might feel a little bit of pressure in your upper back muscles. You might feel a little bit in your shoulders. You might feel it in your back. You also might be feeling on how you're doing a little bit of an arch. You don't want to do an arch. You want to make sure those hips are underneath those shoulders. And so as you are having those arms to the side, it's going to be nice and straight. So that's going to help out with your posture. And then the very last one that we're going to be doing is for the hips. So as you're sitting in that chair, and your feet are flat on the floor, this next exercise is just going to be really, really, really simple. And all you're going to do is you're just going to lift one leg at a time. And as you lift one leg at a time, let's see if I can. So as you're sitting down, then all you're going to do is you're just going to lift one leg at a time. And then you're going to lift one leg at a time. And then you're going to lift one leg at a time. So you got like these hip flexors, and then you got, like the legs and everything. And just pay attention, take inventory to where you're feeling it. Then as you're doing it, then you can kind of go out. And as you go out, these are just going to be, opening up those hips just a little bit and just getting a little bit of, blood flow into the different body parts. I hope you guys like my red table. I'm so excited about it. I have patio furniture inside my apartment. I love it. So anyways, sorry. So kind of recapping on the movement aspect. So we have the breathing, everything get back to your breath. Make sure it's deep breath. If you get dizzy, it's okay. The next thing is going to be the shoulder shrugs, because I want you guys to have that awareness to how much tension you have in those shoulders. I teach group fitness, and there are so many people, and they're always shrugging their shoulders. Like if we're doing punches, they're just like up, and it's like boom, 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 boom. No, you gotta be relaxed. Drop the shoulders, drop the shoulders. Push-ups, drop those shoulders, and boom, boom, boom. So we don't have awareness a lot of the time when we're doing these different things. So just this is for awareness to kind of understand where we keep our shoulders in like a general state. And then when we do those shoulder rolls going back, that's to help our posture and also to kind of release some of that tension, because a lot of times people are leaning forward. A secondary thing to kind of help with our posture is to do those wall angels. So get those arms, all the way up, and then we're up against the wall. In terms of your feet, make sure that your feet are up against the wall as well. So flat foot, feet up against the wall, and you're standing straight. So you got everything from your calves, your butt, your back, your shoulders, everything's in alignment with the wall. And then we got lifting up our legs, so checking out those hips. It's another area that we kind of carry a lot of stress. So if you find that it's really difficult to lift that leg, that's an indicator that we have a little bit of stress in the body, which is nothing wrong with it, but just kind of move it around. Literally move through adversity, move through that stress. So individually lift up each one of your legs, and then try to do a rotation. So you lift and then rotate, lift and then rotate, lift and then rotate. So as you're kind of doing all that, again, just pay attention. How is everything feeling? If you're tight, if you're just if you're tight, tightness is an indicator of stress. Stress is held within the body. There is a book called The Body Keeps the Score. So for anyone that's listening who has experienced any kind of trauma, we've all experienced trauma. So this is a very good book to kind of understand on how trauma gets stored inside the body. So we have like the regular stresses, and then we have like big event stresses, and on how it can affect everything from our sleep, our digestion, our mobility, our abilities to kind of literally move through life. So I think that is a really good resource as well. And that's more for like the bigger ticket things. If we're just looking at the regular day-to-day stresses, then these are the exercises that we showed today are very powerful to just kind of add to your daily. So with that said, we're also going to be talking about community. So I think community is a very, very, very important part of self-mastery. Self-mastery or redefining self. So I think coming from the trauma space, I lost my entire family when I was talking about domestic violence or family violence. And it was a gamble. It is what it is. I needed to prioritize my health and safety and wellness and over the comfort of others. And so during that journey, I realized a lot of the people that I kept in my community were not value add. They were harmful. And so I think like when we talk about community, I think it's very important to understand the quality of people, not just being surrounded by people, but being surrounded by the right people. So if, say for example, if you're going to accomplish something and you are super excited about it, and you go to turn to people and you just want to share that joy, you want to expand on that joy, finding a community worthy of you is thinking about these moments. Who are the 5 people that you would turn to in a moment of love, a moment of expansion, a moment of accomplishment? Who are the 5 people that you would turn to? So write down on a list these 5 people. Now that you have the names of these 5 people, how do you think that they would respond to you? Are they going to respond with giving you criticisms? Are they going to fan your flame? Are they going to make it be like a hype person and be like, yes, this is amazing, do it, do it, do it? Are they, what type of response are they going to give you? Do you think that they're going to give you? As long as the response is respectful, in love, like with love, and helping you get closer to whatever you want to achieve, they get to stay. If it's going to be rooted in jealousy, resentment, or anything like that, it's time to let them go. And it's easy to say, it's hard to do, because a lot of times the people on our list are family. So I tell you this from experience. I get it. I understand this is a very, very, very difficult exercise, but just something to be mindful of. So on the other side, So now that we have our list of 5 people and we evaluated during a good moment, during a positive moment, who are the people that we would turn to? And then on the other side, we have a moment of pain or a moment of heaviness or a moment of adversity. If your world was falling apart, who are the top 5 people that you would turn to? Whether it's a phone call, whether it's showing up on their doorstep with a suitcase, whether it's asking to borrow money, like anything, you're down in your luck and you need help. Who are the 5 people that you would turn to? For me, this list was very difficult because I couldn't come up with 5 people. I literally couldn't. It was almost impossible for me to think of 5 people that I would turn to, and then also second part, that would show up. And so this exercise is very powerful and it's going to be very eye-opening for you. It's important. So again, think about when you're having a moment where your world is falling apart, who are the 5 people that you would turn to? Write that list. Write those names on the list. Then also ask yourself, how are they going to respond? Are they going to respond with, oh my goodness, Jess, I'm so honored that you turned to me. How can I support you? Or are they going to say, I'm sorry, I don't have time for this? Or are they going to say, okay, I'm here. What do you need? These are important things to kind of evaluate. So when you're having a good moment, you want to be surrounded by a community of people that are going to amplify that good moment. When you're having a down moment, part of life is having down moments. You want to be surrounded by people that are going to make it less hard, people that are going to help you. So multiply your happiness and divide your sorrow. So once you have this list of 10 people, or maybe it's the same 5 people, who knows? I mean, maybe you only have 3 people, maybe you only have 1 person. For a long time, I only had 1 person. And so wherever you're at, it's okay. And maybe the 5 people that you turn to in a moment of happiness and joy are the same people that you would turn to during a moment of adversity. And that's okay. For me, sometimes they're the same people too. Now that you have that list, sometime within the next week, pick 1 person and write them a letter of gratitude. Just tell them. Maybe we've spoken frequently, maybe we haven't. I just wanted to tell you that you mean the world to me and that you've made an impression on my life, and I'm grateful for you. I'll share the letter process because this is something that I used to do professionally, helping people move through adversity. So it's a very simple process. I do, letters to self, letters to community, and then letters to teachers. Like if somebody puts you in a bad position or makes life a little bit harder, as a way to help you let go, there's a process for letters, writing a letter to help you release all that. So I think, for this oversimplification, you think of the person, you think of how they make you feel, you think of how they've added value into your world, you think of just all these expansive, love-filled, heart-centered moments. And then when you write your letter, don't think about it, just write from the heart and just say thank you. Even if they haven't done anything specific, just the fact that they're in your world is enough to say thanks. So by writing this letter, you are vocalizing the importance that they, like the role that they play in your world. You're sending them gratitude and you are strengthening, which results in strengthening the relationship. A lot of times there's a famous saying on how people care when they know how much you care. And so a lot of times, even for myself in my own personal journey, people didn't realize on how high I held them in regard. And people think, well, you're Jess Corvo. Of course you got everything under control. Like you're fine. And there's a lot of times when I wasn't fine. And there was a lot of times where I would, cry in the shower, or I would throw my hands in the air saying, what next? Are you serious? Or I would, be in fetal position in my bed, or I would just lay on my floor and just, I can't do this. And you have like those moments of overwhelm and you try not to sit in those moments, but you also acknowledge them. And that's part of being human. And that's part of being normal and having those moments. Self-soothing is very important, but also having people that you can turn to when you need help is equally as important. So once I started writing my letters, and I've been doing letters of gratitude for over 10 years. So once I started doing like my letters of gratitude, it helped me strengthen a lot of my relationships, and it helped me identify the people that, were genuinely able to hold space for me. A lot of the times, anytime that I needed help, it was for emotional processing. So physically, I could do Ironman, no problem. Professionally, I can climb corporate ladders, no problem. Emotionally, sometimes it was very difficult for me. So being able to find people and cultivate a community where I could, if I was having a bad day, that I didn't have to sit and feel a position by myself, but I could just say, hey, I'm having a day. Do you have 15 minutes for a chat? And so I think like, the process of doing the letters are, very powerful, because what might be a life-changing moment for you where somebody literally answered the phone and they didn't have to. And it's an insignificant moment for the other person because their world has all these other people that are constantly calling them anyways. By acknowledging that moment via a letter of gratitude will help strengthen that relationship and get you on their radar as somebody who honors them. So that's all that I have. So we did a very quick kind of in-depth thing talking about nutrition, talking about movement, and talking about community. And hopefully you guys were able to extract a whole lot of value from all of this. And hopefully you guys are now going to pay attention. I mean, not today, but sometime throughout the week, go and buy some oranges and see if you can find seeds. Or go and pay attention to your bananas and see what color the stems are. Or go ahead and buy a piece of fruit and put it on your mantle and on your table, on your countertop, and see how long it takes before it creates mold. And I still remember that the first time I came to Chicago, or I moved back to Chicago, and I was doing the same thing, evaluating my local grocery stores. My housemate thought I was crazy because he's like, why do you have strawberries on the counter? And I was like, because I want to see how good they are. And he's like, well, don't you have to eat them to see how good they are? And I was like, no, I want to see how long it takes for them to mold. And it was 2 days, and they started getting mold. They started, withering and then getting mold. And I was celebrating, and he's like, who does that? Who does that? Why are you celebrating moldy strawberries? And for like the normal person, you eat the strawberries. For the woke person, or for the person who is genuinely interested and curious about how they're nourishing their body, they're going to evaluate this. This is important. I mean, try not to buy $1 million strawberries, but at the same time, like, know what you're putting into your body, know the integrity of it. And so I think, nutrition is very important. Healthy bowel movements, very important. You don't want to, be pooping all the time, but you also want to make sure that every time you're eating food that it's coming out, because that is the cycle. Eat, release, eat, release, eat, release. And then for community, just know that you are whole and you are perfect as you are. Sometimes life is a little bit easier when you have people around. So try to find ways to cultivate a stronger community. For me, it's thinking of those 5 people and how they would respond for good things and then for hard things. And then also write the letter of gratitude. Just write them a letter. For me, I do it at 10 o'clock every Wednesday. I pick somebody in my world and I write them a letter of gratitude. So anyways, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and close up the masterclass. My apologies for Sway not being able to join us. She was having some technical difficulties with the internet over in Dubai. So we're grateful for you guys to show up, and we will send you some notes, and also when we're going to have another masterclass. So everyone that signed up today is obviously going to be honored as one of our VIPs. So when we launch our online course, you guys have first access to everything. And we are just so grateful that you guys shared your time, your energy, your heart, and your minds with us. So thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and close this up. And happy International Women's Day. Here's to all the strong women in the world. May we know them, may we be them, and may we raise them. Happy International Women's Day. And thank you for joining us to celebrate sisterhood. From our hearts and my heart in Chicago to wherever you guys are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us.